The Emperor of Mankind serves as the linchpin of the Warhammer 40k universe. His overall significance to the narrative surpasses even the Chaos Gods, embodying the grandiose and horrifying scale of the Imperium's struggles. However, within the vastness of his importance lies the enigma of an inconsistent and often unsatisfying character portrayal. At the narrative level, the Emperor functions as a cosmic force, an icon of both hope and tyranny. His vision for humanity's domination echoes through the Imperium's relentless crusade, adding depth to the grimdark setting. The tension between the Emperor's ostensibly noble goals and the brutal methods employed in their pursuit fuels the overarching drama. Yet, when the focus narrows to the Emperor as an individual character, the veil of mystery surrounding him can become a source of frustration. The lack of a clear and consistent portrayal leaves audiences yearning for a more profound understanding of his motives, emotions, and internal conflicts. Unlike the Chaos Gods, who revel in their distinct personalities and domains, the Emperor remains an elusive figure, his true nature shrouded in ambiguity. The paradox arises from the Emperor's dual role as both a symbol and an individual. As a symbol, he encapsulates the struggle against the encroaching darkness, embodying the Imperium's resilience. However, as an individual character, his lack of defined traits and motivations leaves a narrative void that yearns to be filled. In essence, the Emperor stands as a testament to the delicate balance required when crafting a character of such cosmic importance. While his overarching influence shapes the entire galaxy, delving into the intricacies of his personal character proves to be a challenge that continues to fuel both fascination and frustration among fans. So today, we are going to discuss exactly that. What makes the Emperor so intriguing as an essential part of the narrative, but so unsatisfying as an individual character, and how it all functions and ties together. The lack of consistency in the portrayal of the Emperor's character becomes evident when examining his interactions. Each time we gain new insight into the Emperor's behavior, it is influenced by the characters accompanying him, as his charisma manipulates perspectives into something beneficial to him. Consequently, his mannerisms, speech, and even actions, to a lesser degree, fail to truly characterize him. These interactions say more about the observers present than about the Emperor himself, rendering every encounter unreliable or even contradictory. A significant aspect is his interactions with his sons, the Primarchs, where the Emperor's behavior varies greatly. For instance, his treatment of Angron lacks the slightest bit of sympathy and compassion, allowing Angron's fellow warriors to perish during the rebellion in Nuceria when he could have easily saved them, and that simple act that could have prevented Angron's fall to chaos and the mistreatment of his legion, showcasing the Emperor's severe lack of care regarding at least one of his sons. Mortarion's case is another instance of his neglect. While the Emperor saved his life, he lacked understanding of a being he created. And even though Mortarion's perspective on this is childish, to say the least, his thoughts were entirely in line with his other themes. Mortarion's spite is completely in line with his character, something the Emperor should have been able to understand, as he created his sons to be the way they are. Perhaps simply healing him and allowing him to avenge himself would have sufficed. On the other side of the spectrum, the naming of Fulgrim's legion, the Emperor's children, and allowing them to proudly bear his imperial Aquila was a genius move. Despite negative consequences like Fulgrim's obsession with perfection, his eventual fall to Slaanesh is hardly the Emperor's fault. Fulgrim truly loved, respected, and idolized the Emperor, who embodied the perfection Fulgrim sought, and if it wasn't for the Lair Blade, he would never have turned traitor. I can also mention the Emperor's first meeting with Korax. After the shock and awe, which is characteristic of every single meeting with the Emperor, they have an actual conversation. The Emperor calls Korax his son. He speaks to him with a softness and understanding that he often doesn't with some of his less favored sons. But more importantly, he waited for Korax to fulfill his purpose on deliverance, which was to save the people who were enslaved on the moon and also nuke the planet below, which housed his enemies. Of course, this was supposed to be a lesson to Korax, to teach him of the necessity of bloodshed, but the second you compare this meeting to the way he treated Angron, you can clearly see the faults in his behavior. It's like seeing two completely different characters act. The inconsistency in these meetings raises questions about the Emperor's true nature. Does he love his sons, or is he as cold and calculating as he appears? Are the Primarchs merely tools, or did he have a plan for them after the Great Crusade? The character seems to be pulled in multiple directions, resulting in a lack of a coherent character which only possesses loosely connected traits that contradict each other at every turn. I don't think anything could possibly illustrate my point better than a comparison, so let's consider another godlike human character from a different Warhammer universe, Sigmar. Sigmar founded the Empire of Man through both the use of might, when it was required, but also more importantly, through guile and wit. He's a barbarian, but he's not an idiot or a fool. He enjoys battle, but isn't needlessly cruel, and isn't above being somewhat underhanded when necessary. Sigmar is intelligent, charismatic, powerful, and wise. And the reason why I'm using him specifically is because of how he parallels the Emperor. But comparing the two, Sigmar is much better fleshed out. He acts exactly as you'd expect him to. The traits that define his character aren't contradicted, they are expanded upon. For example, he had no problem working with Nagash against Chaos, even when Nagash was an old foe of his, because being able to see the bigger picture has always been a characteristic he possessed. Sigmar is interesting because his actions follow a logic, they are in harmony with each other, and you can construct a coherent character through these actions. This is why he works as a character, why he's great within the context of the setting, and why the Emperor is so extremely frustrating to try to comprehend, because he doesn't have any of these qualities. But even with all those negatives, the Emperor is such an essential part of the setting that it simply cannot exist without him. If you try to remove his presence from the world, absolutely everything falls apart. The Imperium's whole aesthetic is centered around their god, and without him, there is absolutely no greater powers in the world capable of keeping chaos in check. The Elder Gods are either dead, shattered, or imprisoned. Even Segarach, the only free Elder God, is barely powerful enough to play around Slaanesh, instead of facing it directly. The Emperor, however, is a clear and powerful opposition to the Chaos Gods. He is their anathema. And the Imperium revolving around him and his supposed godhood is what it's barely keeping humanity alive in the setting. If you remove that, everything breaks at the seams. But of course, the necessity of his existence doesn't justify his quality as a plot device. What elevates him in this regard are his actions, particularly after being put on the throne. The Emperor in the 41st millennium barely acts, but when he does, there is purpose behind it, it drives the plot forward, and plays into the idea that he is also a part of the great game now. His encounter with Guilliman after the Terran Crusade is a great example of this. We see him interact with Guilliman in a vision even a Primarch can barely understand. In this situation, the Emperor's lack of clarity and even cohesion is not only acceptable, it is necessary. After 10,000 years of torture and being force-fed the souls of countless psychers, he is stronger than ever, but also much less focused. His mind is completely scattered throughout the galaxy, watching over humanity. Guilliman is informed of the Emperor's perception of him. He is called a betrayer and a savior, hope and disappointment. All of those ideas serve to illustrate what the Emperor has become after all those millennia, and it works perfectly. The burning of Nurgle's garden, the return of the lion, all those great happenings within the setting could never exist without his direct input. And this is why he works so well within this context. No one can push the plot forward as he can. Compared to Sigmar in this regard, the Emperor is unsurpassed. Though Sigmar was instrumental in the creation of the Empire after his supposed death, his importance was greatly diminished, at least until the end times. And while I can appreciate his relevance, he still isn't necessarily as essential to the progression of the setting. The Empire of Man is an important bulwark against Norsca and Chaos, but at the same time, there are other human factions which oppose them. There is Kislev, Tilea, and even Grand Cathay. The setting doesn't break without the existence of Sigmar. Even within the Empire, there are other gods who can be worshipped. Mors, Tal, and even Ulrich are all also an important part of Imperial culture. It pales in comparison to the Emperor's overwhelming presence because it is extremely difficult to discuss Warhammer 40k without mentioning him even in passing. Anyways, I guess the point of this video is to outline why I personally enjoy the existence of the Emperor within the setting, but I'm also frustrated by how unreliable his depictions usually are. I apologize if it was a bit ranty. As always, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like and possibly subscribe if you wish to see more content like this. See you guys soon.